Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Joe Biden's approval rating is on the up and up, folks, a major bounce back. Lefties are rejoicing and cheering and celebrating that even the most recent Rasmussen Reports poll shows Joe Biden at 47% approval. Of course, 47% isn't exactly a high approval rating for a Democrat president. It could be an anomaly, whatever it is. Point is, Joe Biden is seeing a bump. That's undeniable. His approval is going back up after signing into law the Inflation Reduction Act, and as markets rallied off the July CPI report numbers. They're calling it the Biden boom. But of course, like most messaging campaigns coming out of the Democrat Party, it's completely tone deaf, out of touch with reality, and just a bunch of elitist fools patting themselves on the back. There's no Biden boom, folks. People are falling for the Democrat messaging scam, and the reality remains that the Biden recession continues. In fact, it's very possible, and some would even argue very likely, that we've only seen the start. Warnings of a red November continue. Honestly, absolutely nothing has changed for the last 6 months, and it's yet again another dishonest Democrat game. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, friends, so of course we know that Joe Biden keeps claiming that his economic plan is working.
That my economic plan is moving this country in a better direction.
Karine Jean-Pierre said that the economy is stronger than it's been historically.
To take this on, we got to have be in a good historic economic place, which is where we are right now.
And so they're taking this massive victory lap, but what it really is a massive victory slap in the face of regular Americans that are struggling. Joe Biden tells you that his economy is working for everyone. I mean, that's the far left Bernie Sanders style rhetoric that they've taken. We're going to make an economy that works for everyone. Well, if that's the case, then why is it that Gallup just released this data right over here? In the United States, poor life ratings reach record high. Washington, D.C., the percentage of Americans who evaluate their lives poorly enough to be considered, quote, suffering on Gallup's Life Evaluation Index was 5.6% in July, the highest since the index's inception in 2008. This exceeds the previous high of 4.8% measured in April and is statistically higher than all prior estimates of the COVID-19 era. Across extensive measurements since January 2008, suffering percentage has reached 4.5 or higher on a handful of occasions. The most recent results, obtained July 26 to August 2nd, 2022, are based on web surveys of 3,649 U.S. adults as part of the Gallup panel, a probability-based non-opt-in panel of about 115,000 adults across all 50 states and the District of Columbia. For its Life Evaluation Index, Gallup classifies Americans as, quote, thriving, struggling, or, quote, suffering, according to how they rate their current and future lives on a ladder scale, which steps numbered from 0 to 10 based on the Cantrell self-anchoring striving scale. Folks, Joe Biden's talking a whole lot about his historic success. Now, Joe Biden is certainly breaking records and making history, but in all of the wrong ways. This index was created in 2008 after the most recent major recession. There's been little recessions here and there, but the biggest, most devastating recession, at least in modern history, was 2008. That's when this Gallup's index was created. The percent of Americans that are, quote, suffering is the highest it's been since this index was created. And there are more people suffering today than post-2008 financial crisis. That's Joe Biden's economic plan working. That's Joe Biden's historic economy. His economy that works for everyone and not just the top 1%. But clearly, Joe Biden's economy is only working for the most elitist, most privileged, asset-owning Americans. The reality is the economy is not working for everyday Americans. And this idea the Democrats are trying to push that all of the economic woes and all of the issues are basically over and it's just slow and steady growth right on the horizon, well, that seems utterly preposterous as well. We've seen the most recent bear market rally as the Dow Jones hovers above 33,000, the S&P peaked above 4,300, but already as markets open on Monday, we saw another massive tank. Because yes, maybe the CPI reading last month wasn't as high as people were expecting, or it showed that inflation might have peaked, but the idea that that means that the war is over is ridiculous. A battle may have been won, it's a little bit too early to say that inflation has peaked, but the war is certainly not over. And Democrats and many extremely naive and hopeful people think that it is and put their money back into the markets. But of course we know that they're celebrating celebrating 8.5% inflation. Joe Biden is declaring victory on inflation when it's 8.5% and food was at 13.1%. Completely ridiculous. That's what I mean by a preemptive victory lap, or rather, a victory slap in your face. And of course, the economic woes and the market woes aren't just magically going to disappear because inflation is still above 8%, meaning the Fed has to continue to tighten, and the economy will not thrive in a high interest environment. It's never going to happen because it's never happened before, meaning there's probably, I'd say at minimum, another 6 months of hard economic times to withstand. And that's probably best case scenario. That's if the Fed continues to respond with quantitative tightening and rate hikes, and it leads to a serious, swift drop in inflation, and then magically the Fed pivots, turns around, and we go back to low interest environment and back into a bull run. The chances of that happening in 6 months seem highly unlikely. In fact, the last time there was an inflation crisis in the 1970s, it took over a decade to regain stability. The stock market hovered for over 10 years. We saw the summer rush with some of the jobs reports that Biden was promoting. Again, they're telling you it's a sign that we're not in a recession. Joe Biden keeps telling you we're not in a recession, just look at the jobs. Meanwhile, 97% of executives say that the US is in a recession despite Biden's definition change. But we saw a little summer rush. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's pretty much what was expected. And now we're headed into the fall with high interest rates, record high credit card debt, falling wages in respect to continued hyperinflation. Manufacturing is seriously starting to slow down, yet the Democrats want you to believe that it's all smooth sailing from here. Yeah, I'm gonna call BS on that one, especially when some of the most important key economic indicators remain not just bad, but terrible. Take a look at the United States dollar compared to the euro. Again, a lot of people think that this is a good thing. The United States dollar is strong. I mean, that must be amazing, right? No. Europe is in the midst of an energy crisis, and their dollar gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Their purchasing power continues to fall. Guess what? Europeans buy American goods and services, but it's becoming harder and harder for them to be able to purchase American goods as their dollar continues to crumble and the American dollar continues to become more powerful. This is actually a doom and gloom indicator. This is terrible. This right over here, folks, is the cost of electricity in Germany and France. It's just starting to peak now. This is a lagging indicator, meaning we're not going to see the fallout of these high energy costs until a couple months out. Again, you might be thinking, well, that's happening in Germany and France, doesn't exactly affect me. No, it does. What I'm looking at is a cascading effect here. The Democrats are playing politics by using little headline numbers to make it seem as if their economic agenda is working ahead of the 2022 midterms. But the reality is absolutely nothing has changed. We're still in an energy crisis, an affordability crisis, and the question is, how much longer can the average consumer continue to take this hit? I'm personally thinking not much longer. And then to add insult to injury, in this very troubled economic time, Joe Biden has the audacity to sign on another almost $1 trillion bill, more than $300 billion in initial spending and even more down the line. In his Inflation Reduction Act, he wants you to believe that it's all over and that he's solved the problem with the stroke of a pen. But I'm sitting here thinking absolutely nothing has changed. It might be even worse than we initially predicted. In fact, famed Big Short investor Michael J. Burry just sold almost his entire stock portfolio, predicting another bear market downturn. Who knows if he's correct, but if you have the option between trusting Michael J. Burry or Joe Biden, the decision to me seems pretty damn clear. I don't think we're out of this Biden recession just yet. I think the worst has yet to come. But of course, I hope I'm wrong, and we'll just have to see what happens over time. That, however, is what I got for you guys in this video. If you enjoyed it, then please make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you're up for it. I'm gonna get back to work. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.